So today we're going to spend a little more time going over how to solve and graph inequalities. Today we're going to focus on dealing with inequalities that have a negative coefficient, okay? So the number one rule that you guys need to know is that when you multiply or divide on both sides of the inequality by a negative, you have to change the direction of the inequality, okay? Okay, so that's like our number one rule for today. Okay, if I multiply or divide on both sides of the inequality by a negative, I must change the direction of the inequality sign. Okay, now I only have to do this if I'm doing that to both sides and it's by a negative number, multiplying or dividing by a negative number. If I just multiply by a negative on one side, do I have to change the sign? No. Okay. If I multiply on both sides by a positive, do I have to change the sign? No. If I multiply on both sides by, or if I divide on both sides by a positive, do I have to change the sign? No. Only when I multiply or divide by a what? Negative on both sides. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this example. Okay, if I wanted to solve this, what would I do first to solve this? Yeah, what's the opposite of multiplying by negative 8? Divide. Now, when I'm dividing by that negative 8, am I doing that to both sides? Yeah, so what do I have to do to the inequality sign in my answer? Change the direction, okay? So the direction of my inequality is going to change from less than to greater than. Okay, and then this over here, negative 64 divided by negative 8 makes what? Positive 8, right? Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and graph this. So you just have a greater than symbol, open or closed circle? Open, okay. So I'm going to put an open circle on 8. Greater than. Is that going to the right or to the left? Where are the numbers greater than 8? Right. Okay, does that make sense how we did that one? Yeah? Okay. All right, let's take a look at the next problem. Okay, problem number 2. What property do I need to apply here? Distributive. Now, I'm distributing a negative, but am I doing that to both sides of the inequality? No. So do I need to change any signs right now? No. Okay, I'm just distributing. So I'm getting negative 42. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x, or minus 7x, is greater than negative 14. Okay, so what should I do next? Well, what would you guys get rid of first, 42 or 7? 42. Okay, so let's add it. What is negative 14 plus 42? 32? No, not 32. 28. Thank you. Okay, 28. Okay, remember, you're really subtracting those numbers, right? Because they're different signs. So 42 take away 14, 28, right? Okay, so now what's your last step? Divide. Now, what am I going to divide both sides by? -7. So when I divide, okay, in my answer, I'm going to get x on the left side. I'm going to get -4 on the right side. But what happens to my inequality? It was a greater than symbol. So it's going to switch to a what? Less than symbol. Does that make sense? Okay. And why did it switch? Because what did we do to both sides? Divide by a negative. So then it switches on the next line that we write. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and graph that inequality. So open or close circle on -4? Open. Okay. All right. And where are the numbers less than -4? To the left. The numbers are getting more and more negative. That means they're getting smaller and smaller, right? The more negative a number is, the smaller it is. Okay? All right. Do you guys remember how you know whether you do an open or a closed circle? Do you guys remember that or not? Some of you don't remember. Okay, we're going to write it down in the margin really quick. When you have less than or greater than, like either of these signs, you do an open circle. Okay? When you have less than, equal to, or greater than or equal to, like see how you have the line here that says the number is equal to that point, it's a closed circle. Okay? Closed circle means that number is included in the solution. Open circle means that number does not work for a solution. It's all the numbers either less than it or greater than it. Okay? All right, does that help you guys a little bit figure out which kind of circle to do? Okay, let's take a look at number 3. All right, so problem number 3. What's the first step here? You guys have a giant fraction. Do you like that? Should we make it not a fraction anymore? Multiply by what? 5. Okay. Let's also multiply by 5 on this other side. Okay. So those 5s, they make 1 when we divide them, right? So I'm just left with -9 plus x is greater than or equal to, what do I get on the right side? -25. Okay. All right. So now, how do I get rid of that -9? Add. Okay. Add 9. Okay, what's -25 plus 9? Actually subtracting those. -16. Now, do I need to change the direction of my inequality on this one? Did I divide by a negative on both sides? Did I multiply by a negative on both sides? No. So the inequality doesn't need to change direction. Okay? Now, this is a common thing that happens. Once we start talking about inequalities with a negative coefficient, students go nuts and they just want to start switching the sign all the time. Switch, 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 right? You don't get to just switch the sign whenever you want. Like, it's not like a free-for-all, like, woohoo, we're just switching signs, okay? You can only switch it when this situation happens, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's graph this one, okay? So x is greater than or equal to -16. So look at your symbol you have. It's this one, so what kind of circle would you do? Closed. Okay, so let's put a closed circle on -16. And this says the x's are greater than -16. So greater than means they're heading in the positive direction. So which way would that be, right or left? Right. We're getting eventually to those really big numbers if we head in the positive direction. Okay, does that make sense what we did there? Yeah? Okay. All right. let's take a look at the next one. On the next one, what should you guys do first? Should we add this 7 to get rid of the constant? Yeah, okay, so let's add 7 here. Add 7 here. That makes 140. Okay. What would our next step be? Divide. What are we going to divide by? -7. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by a negative. Since we're dividing both sides by a negative, what do I have to do? Yeah, switch the inequality sign on the next line. So the next line will switch to less than or equal to. Now, what is 140 divided by -7? Do it on your calculator if you need to.
20.
-20. Very good. Okay, so there's my solution. X is less than or equal to -20. Okay, open or close circle on -20. Closed. Good. Okay, now less than -20. That means we're heading in the negative direction, which means the numbers are getting smaller and smaller, which means more and more negative. So which way, right or left? Left. More negative. This way. Okay. You're owing like more and more money. That means you're more and more in debt, right? Less. You have less and less the more debt you have, right? So it means we're going to the left. Okay. Does that make sense there? Okay. All right. Okay, let's take a look at the next one, number 5. Okay, on number 5, what should you do first? Okay, let's combine like terms on this side. So it's 3v minus 7v. -4v is greater than -8. Okay, now what should we do from there? Divide by -4. Good. Am I dividing by a negative number on both sides? Yeah, so what needs to happen to my inequality? Yeah, it's going to go from greater than to less than. And what's a -8 divided by -4? +2, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and open or close circle on +2. Open, so let's do an open circle. Okay, v is less than 2. That means in the solution, all the numbers are less than 2, smaller than 2. So which way should I go, right or left? Left. Okay. So remember, what your solutions mean is that any of these numbers over here to the left of 2, if I plug them in to the original, they're going to make this statement true, where this side, the left side, would be greater than -8. What would happen if I plug in the number 2 to the original inequality? Would I get a true statement? Is 2 a solution for this problem? Is one of the answers equal to 2? No. Why? Because what's missing from underneath here? An equal to sign, right? So 2 is not actually a solution when you have an open circle. It's just all the numbers over here with the arrow to the left of 2 are your answers that would make this true. If you plug in 2, you're going to get -8 is greater than -8. Is -8 bigger than itself? No. So it wouldn't be a solution. Does that make sense? The difference of what that means. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. Okay. So on number 6, what would you guys want to do first to solve this? Okay, let's move our like terms to the same side, right? What would you guys like to move first? The V? You want to move this one to the left, or do you want to move the 7V to the right? 7V to the right? Okay, we could do that. Okay, so if we did that, what's 7V plus V? 8V. Okay, what will we do next? Yeah, let's move this 3 from right here. Let's move that 3 over. Okay, so how would I move that 3 over? Subtract. Okay, I'm getting 8V on the right side. On the left side, what's 3 take away 3? 0. Okay, what's my last step? Divide. Okay, so for my answer, I have V on the right side, and I have 0 on the left side. Okay. All right, now, this is kind of funky because all my other problems, I had the variable on the left, didn't I? Okay. So if you get confused trying to graph like this, what you can do is you can rewrite this. You can rewrite it with a variable in the front and the number in the back. But when you rewrite it, you have to look at what's happening here. Okay? What did... I hate to say it like this because it's not very mathematical, but what did the alligator want to eat originally? The V or the 0? So if you're just doing a straight up rewrite, it still wants to eat the same thing. So what does it still want to eat? It still wants to eat 0. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you're doing a rewrite, you have to make sure when you're rewriting that you don't accidentally mix up or like change around something that you're not supposed to, okay? When you rewrite, for the purpose of this confuses you having it like this, so you want the variable in front, you need to make sure that the alligator is still eating what it wanted to eat before, okay? All right, so now this says V is less than or equal to 0. So open or close circle on 0. Closed, okay? It's less than, so which way does that mean? Left. Okay, all the numbers are smaller than 0. Okay. Now remember, the arrow represents all your values of V, right? So if you look at this original one before we rewrote it, it says 0 is greater than or equal to all the values of V. So when I look at my graph, that makes sense. 0 is the biggest number on the graph, right? 0 is bigger than all the values on the arrow that I drew. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So here's what you guys are going to do right now. Okay. Right now, you guys are going to write a summary in your own words of what you learned today. Okay. So you're going to summarize what we covered today. After you do this summary down here, you're going to put this pink paper in a safe place, and you're going to go on to Google Classroom, and you have a homework assignment posted there, which is another practice with solving inequalities, okay? So you're going to get out a scratch paper and do that when you're done with the summary. All right, any questions on what you guys are doing right now? Okay.